The ability to deal direct damage, either to your opponent or to creatures, is a key part of Magic the Gathering. Throughout Magic's history, there has been several burn spells printed. The best ones we can think of are cards like Lightning Bolt. Well, what if I told you there are some burn spells in Magic that are just absolutely terrible? Well, today we are going to be looking at the top 10 worst burn spells of all time. When I say bad, I mean really bad. It's like you're trying to lose. You are going to lose with these cards. Some of these cards are so bad that they don't even do anything most of the time. So we start off with number 10, Boulderfall. Boulderfall is an instant for 2 red and 6 colorless. It reads, Boulderfall deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. Okay, starting off the list is not too bad, although it's pretty bad. 8 mana to do 5 damage among any number of target creatures and or players. The effect itself is pretty good, but 8 mana, if you're casting something for 8 mana, you should be borderline winning the game, not removing maybe a few of your opponent's creatures and doing a few damage to their face. It is an instant, which is better than some other things on this list, but overall this card is just absolute trash. At number 9 we have Meteor Shower. It is a sorcery for X, and red. Meteor Shower deals X plus 1 damage divided any way you choose among any number of target creatures and or players. So this is another card that lets you divide the damage among any number of players and or creatures, which in and of itself is a pretty good effect. However, Meteor Shower is way too expensive. Let's say you dumped 5 mana into this thing. 5 mana. At sorcery speed, by the way. That would make X 2, which means you are doing 3 damage among any number of target creatures and or players for 5 mana. This is just a god-awful rate. Meteor Shower, don't put this in your deck. It's just a terrible card. At number 8, we have Scorching Spear. A 1 mana sorcery, Scorching Spear deals 1 damage to any 1 creature or player. All in all, not the worst thing ever. I mean, it is only 1 mana, 1 damage to any creature or player. This just doesn't really deal with anything, and it couldn't even bother to be an instant at the very least. Yeah, not much to say about this card. It's just pretty bad. So yeah, I don't know. Scorching Spear just doesn't really do enough. 1 damage to any creature or player at sorcery speed. Let's compare this thing to Lava Dart. 1 mana. Pretty much the same effect, except it's an instant and it has flashback. At number 7, we have Lave Axe. Now, I know some people might kind of love this card. I mean, it's been reprinted 1,000 times. But, let's just be honest with ourselves. This card is bad. First of all, it can't even target a creature. You are limited to only targeting a player or planeswalker. Also, not to mention, it's sorcery speed, so you can't even do this at your opponent's end step. 5 mana, wasting your whole 5th turn to deal 5 damage to them. Not the worst card ever, but pretty bad. Alright, now we are getting into the really bad cards. This part of the list is like the worst of the worst. This is like the strongest divide in the video between 7 and 6. At number 6, we have Parallectric Feedback. An instant for 3 colorless and 1 red. It reads, Parallectric Feedback deals damage to target spell's controller equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Okay, so what the hell is this? So let's say someone casts, I don't know, a Tarmogoyf. You cast Parallectric Feedback in response, and for 4 mana, you are getting 2 damage. So the real problem with this card is that it requires your opponent to do something first. You can't burn them out unless they are casting something. So, maybe there's a few situations where they're casting, I don't know, an Emrakul, and you're casting this to deal 15 damage. But, I don't know. That just seems way too narrow of a good case. I'm being way too generous. This is just terrible. It's a reactive card. Burn spells want to be proactive. This card is reactive. And not only that, it's just really, really, really bad. It requires very specific situations for this card to be good. At number 5, we have Kamahl's Sledge. It is a red sorcery for 2 red and 5 colorless. It reads, Kamahl's Sledge deals 4 damage to target creature. And then if you have Threshold, it deals 4 damage to that creature and 4 damage to that creature's controller. Threshold, of course, means that you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. So, yeah, the text on this isn't so bad. But again, just the mana cost. 7 mana to deal 4 damage to a creature, and then requiring extra setup to get some burn on your opponent too. Even in the best case scenario, you know what, let's just say this card did not require Threshold, and it just said Kamahl's Sledge deals 4 damage to that creature and 4 damage to that creature's controller. It would still be very, very bad because it's 7 dang mana. And it's a sorcery. So again, you're wasting your whole turn to remove 1 creature and burn your opponent for 4. 7 mana. In red, there's just way better things you could be doing for 7 mana. This is not one of them. This is terrible. At number 4, we have Ember Shot. It is a instant for 6 colorless and 1 red. It reads, Ember Shot deals 3 damage to target creature or player. Draw a card. So again, the text box of this card is pretty good. 3 damage to anything, and you draw a card. Not bad. And it's an instant. That's great. But 7 mana. 7 mana. That's just insane. Again, 7 mana should be borderline winning you the game in any constructed format. I mean, that's for sure. 7 mana, 7 mana in Commander and Modern, Standard, Pauper even. It should be threatening to win you the game. This card does not. It doesn't do enough. It just does not do enough for 7 mana. Maybe in Limited it was okay, just not good. Closing out the list, at number 3 we have Flaming Gambit. It is an instant for X red, reading Flaming Gambit deals X damage to target player. That player may choose a creature he or she controls and have Flaming Gambit deal that damage to it instead. And it has flashback for the same cost plus an extra red. Okay, cool. You've just removed your opponent's worst creature. Let's say they have an 0/1 plant out and you cast this. Cool, you just wasted a crap ton of mana removing their worst creature. Sure, it has flashback, but it follows the general theme where any card that gives your opponent the choice is pretty bad, especially in this card's case. Maybe it's okay until they have any disposable creature on board. Then it just does nothing, except remove that creature, but what's the point? Number 2, we have Backdraft. It is an instant for 1 colorless and 1 red. Backdraft does half of the damage, rounded down, done by 1 sorcery cast this turn to the caster of the sorcery. Wow. So this card is just super, super narrow. So first of all, you can only play this card if your opponent is also playing burn. They have to play a burn spell for this card to work. And even then, they have to be playing a bad burn spell because it has to be a sorcery. Can't even be an instant. So the only way you can cast this card is if your opponent casts a sorcery speed burn spell. And even then, you are only getting half of the damage that card does. So even in a sideboard, this card is just awful. Finally, at number 1, the worst burn spell of all time, Stomping Slabs. It is a sorcery for 2 colorless and 1 red. It reads, reveal the top 7 cards of your library. Then put those cards on the bottom of your library in any order. If a card named Stomping Slabs was revealed this way, Stomping Slabs deals 7 damage to target creature or player. Wow. Where do I even begin? How about the fact that most of the time, this card will do nothing. 3 mana, do nothing. The fact that it has to reveal another one of itself in those top 7 cards for it to do 7 damage, terrible. Now, if you do actually get it to hit, 7 damage for 3 mana is actually pretty good. But the effect of this is just so narrow. I'm not a mathematician, but it just seems like even if you run all 4 of these in a minimum 60 card deck, you're not going to be hitting this most of the time. So most of the time, you'll be paying 3 mana to essentially put the top 7 cards of your library on the bottom of your library. Even worse, this card is so terrible that it requires you to run more than one of them. So honestly, just the worst vile card that I can imagine for burn spells. If you are running 4 of these in your deck, you are losing. If you are only running one of these in your deck, you are losing even more because this card requires you to have all 4 of them to get the maximum potential. But even then, it's going to be terrible. Imagine you have all 4 of these and you draw 2 of them in your opening hand. Terrible. Stomping Slabs, the worst burn spell of all time.